Welcome to the broadcast, everybody. I apologise in advance if you hear some shrieking or some gaiety from children outside. I've got some little kiddies running around my home and garden, so you'll have to excuse any sounds that penetrate. I'm hoping that they won't. And also, can I please, and I rarely do this, maybe only 2 or 3 times, can I remind you, if you want notifications of this broadcast, to click the little notification bell, because it'll tell you instantly whenever I deliver to you. And also subscribe if you wish to subscribe. Don't if you don't. But a few people have told me in the comments they found themselves unsubscribed lately. So I hate reminding people, and I don't do it often, especially at the beginning of a broadcast, but occasionally I will. And today I will. So right, we've done that. And I am absolutely dumbfounded by this debacle with regards to the Harkles. Another award comes their way. Another award. And this time, it's a Gracie. A Gracie. Shall we rename them the Disgracies, my dear? One absolute disgrace. Another award. Who have they been lubricating and lining the pockets with, my dear? Who exactly? That's what I want to know. What benefactor? Which ear have they been dropping little bits of poison in? The Gracies, named after Gracie Allen. Remember, one half of Burns and Allen? Who could forget George Burns with his cigar, and old Gracie? Oh yeah, well she was fabulous, wasn't she, Gracie? She was a role model for women in media and entertainment. Yes, she was. A fine woman by all accounts. She must be turning in her grave. Turning in her grave and asking old Georgie for a puff on the cigar. Give me a toke, love, give me a toke. Not of the psychedelic stuff. Not the old wacky-backy, but give me a toke, get me out of here, because these Gracies are presented by the AWM, the Alliance for Women in Media Foundation, since 1975. Recognises exemplary programming created by, for and about women in radio, television, cable and interactive media. Exemplary programming for archetypes. For archetypes? You've got to be kidding me. And by the way, a few of you drew my attention to another woman of archetypal foundation, Caroline Miss, who has been reeling off various spiritual archetypes throughout the years, and I have heard of her, and I was into her a few years ago, bits of her work. She's not really my cup of tea now, but I did go and listen to her archetypes broadcasts, which are on YouTube, which she provides for free, and they are a lot more engaging than anything that Megan came out with in that podcast. Anything at all, which was nonsense on stilts. Exemplary. She's being awarded with this Gracie. And Archewell announced it with a bugler. The bugler arrived on the scene at the Archewell website. Today, the Gracie Awards announced that Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, was named Top Entertainment Podcast Host for her groundbreaking podcast series, Archetypes. Really? This award honours outstanding original content. This has got to be comedy. It's got to be outstanding original content. That's outstanding and original. What a disgrace to the Gracies. That both entertains and informs. Well, it entertained us on a level of mockery, didn't it, my dear? I mean, that's who was tuning in. That's how it managed to reach #1 in various charts for the first couple of weeks. And then, I'd love to have seen the ratings for the rest of the series. Because even I wasn't watching it and reporting to you by Broadcast 12 or whatever it was. Entertains and informs in a highly engaging and authentic manner. Authentic. And she signs off with a flourish. Meg. Don't forget her little flourish, the Meghan flourish. It's announced with a bugle, and she signs off with a little flourish, a curlicue. Aren't we so spoilt? And as for Archewell's tax filing for 2021, well, wasn't that a turn up, my fruits? Wasn't that a turn up for the books, cooking the books? Across 2021, 1 hour a week each. They worked 1 hour a week, 52 in total. 3,700 given in public donations, and they gave 2 million in grants. Wonderful, wonderful. But they have secret backers. 8 million came in from one single backer. Place your bets, hedge your bet. Who do you think it was? Oprah, Gail, Tyler, or them themselves? I think it was those two. 8 million from Harry, 2 million from Rachel. Harry and Meghan do not take a salary. The CEO, James Holt, takes 48k for his 1 hour a week. It's a hard knock life, ain't it? It's a hard knock life for Archewell. 1 act of compassion at a time. 1 hour at a time per week. If Harry literally did, and I'm not suggesting he did because it could have been anyone, I understand, this wealthy backer could have been anyone, but if Harry is the one that provided that cash injection, that anonymous donorship from that paltry membership, if he is the one that provided that filthy lucre, that is exactly how he is funding his freedom. That's how he's funding their freedom, with filthy lucre from Judas coins. Because it would have come straight from his advance from Random Penguins. Harry Iscariot is his name. Harry Iscariot, my dear. Same if it was a cash donation from Oprah Winfrey, because that's the other rumour, that instead of a direct payment for their services to her show, besmirching the royalty and the kingdom, instead of a direct payment of that, it was a donation to Archewell, because it was philanthropic. So however you want to dress it up, my dear, that money is filthy lucre. It was earned for betraying his own family, cheapening the institution, and spoiling the international reputation of the Commonwealth and the kingdom. Archewell, Murchewell, my dear. Murchy, murchy, murchy. Lord have a murchy, murchy, murchy. Cynthia Key. Cynthia Key says, you know, River, when I was young and fun, we would have picked straws to see who would have to wrap a lip around that red Harry Todger. Oh dear. A lip around that red Harry Todger in order to keep the drinks coming. Cynthia Key. You really are quite fruity, aren't you? Meghan drew the short straw. Well, I really don't want those images put in my mind, my dear, but I've got to agree. I realise that there were many that found Harry attractive for some reason. I think it was just because he was a prince, but some are like, oh, he was lovely. Back in the old days, wasn't he wonderful? I never saw it, never saw it. Just some fuzzball on stilts, flushed florid fuzzball on stilts, but each to their own. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I know it's hard to believe. I'm not everybody's, so he can't be everybody's. I never saw it. Some loved him. The women loved him. Loads of gays loved him. Loads of gays would do anything for a bit of Harry, I'm telling you, my dear. But I wouldn't want to go there. I would not want to go there. In fact, well, actually, you know, I lie. I told you that I would go there because he's royal, but only because he's royal. I wouldn't enjoy it, and I'd be thinking of England. I'd be thinking of Big Willie, to be honest, although I would know that it's not the same effect because he'd be tottering away. He'd be tottering away, going for his life. Actually, he'd probably be asking me to ride him, like Sasha. Make me your stallion, but ride me. Oh, that wet, submissive creature. I'm sorry, that would bring me no joy whatsoever. Give me the girded loins of Big Willie, if you please. A future king. I don't want some second son. Beta excuse, some pithy excuse for masculinity. Yeah, Meghan did draw the short straw, literally, my dear. And if the thought of him doing what you say, wrapping a lip around that red Harry Todger. Well, I've no discrimination against the colour, my dear. I've known some Auburn gentlemen myself, you know. I have no discrimination there. But what a picture to put in the head. My understanding is that he is actually the one that is keen to do a similar sort of favour at her invitation, if you get my drift. If you get my drift. That pastime that many women will recline and enjoy at their partner's leisure, if he so deigns to venture into those kinds of avenues, those boulevards. If he does, you know, then you're onto a winner, which is why I always say, if you find a liquor, marry one. But my understanding is that, you know, I just love her smell. My understanding is that is what Harry's all about and why she puts up with him, which is fair enough, really, isn't it? I mean, it's a pretty good excuse. You know, they don't call her Pearl for nothing, my dear, you know. They go, when Harry goes diving, that's what he's searching for, the girl with the pearl. But when it comes to Meghan and the other way round, all that puts me in my mind, I get visions of here in the kingdom we have apple bobbing. We have apple bobbing competitions where someone chucks a bowl of apples in front of you in a bowl of water, and you have to get down, bob your head, bob away, try and get it in it, try and find it, try and find the apple, get it between your teeth when you're blindfolded, you know, finding your way through. Like searching for a needle in a haystack, my dears. Most unsatisfying. And who wants to suck on a cocktail sausage when you can have a frankfurter, my dear? Do you get my drift? I ask you. So one must have a little bit of sympathy for Meghan. Just a little bit of sympathy for any of that stuff that she goes through with. I don't envy her for it. Duchess or no Duchess. William, on the other hand, William, 'tis my understanding. Oh, what a proud man he is. Proud and primed. Proud and primed, my dear. There is no mistaking that princely part. Oh, no mistaking manhood when you see it and feel it. And oh, to Princess Catherine's pleasure, springs. It's wonderful when they just spring up, isn't it, out of a pair of trousers or pantalon. Just springs up to attention like the king's equerry, like Johnny, just pops out of nowhere. You know, tall, broad and handsome, this thing, and needs no persuasion. But we don't go there in matters royal, because that's our future king and queen are talking about. So we don't go there. But, you know, one must draw a comparison to these kinds of things. Now, to the subject of Germany. Germany, wasn't it wonderful? Wasn't it an absolutely spectacular few days? Do you see? Do you see how the king was prepared for this role his entire life? Do you see how he was ready to take the mantle and do a fabulous job? Flawless. Flawless. And credit has to go to Germany and the German fruits that watch this broadcast, because part of that rapturousness was the rapturous welcome. Thank you, Germany. Thank you, Germany. The Germans adore our king and queen. They enjoy royalty. Who knew? Well, a few of us did, my dear. You know, those of us who understand these matters. But to the wider world, Germany, what are they doing? River, really? Are they really going to shop to other countries in this day and age without the late Queen Elizabeth and people go wild? Hell yeah. Hell yeah, my dear. Did you see? I ain't lying. I ain't lying. Round the block, vast crowds. Harry Styles couldn't pull in these kind of numbers, my dear. And as for the Harkles, certainly not. Certainly not, my lovers, in their wildest dreams. So they can, you know, they can show us all their 10-15 that rocked up outside the court case, because maybe they were procured there or given a little bit of a tip-off. Have them, my darling. But you really don't have whole nations clamouring for your attention, my lover. Only Montecito. And even my Montecito fruits don't care for you. The state banquet at Bellevue Palace was an absolute triumph. They spent time at the Opera House in Berlin, a community, a refugee centre, and a food market. Oh, they had a wonderful time at the food market. Gobble, gobble, tasting goods. They met traders. Charles made cheese. They took to the German markets, which have become quite popular here in the kingdom. You know, you can't visit any of our major cities or towns in the kingdom now without a German market at Christmas time. They bring a lot of coziness to the occasion. There are some really quite good ones. I went to a few this year, quite cosy. And it was a rip-roaring success. He was hailed as the climate king. And I know lots of you won't like that, my dear, those who don't really approve of his enthusiasm for such matters. It is what it is. Germany love it. Germany love it. And he was highly praised. His speech was highly praised. His fluent German was highly praised. He really rang a bell with the people. And it was stunning, wasn't it, to see him lined up with his escort, I was going to say. Whoops-a-daisy. I ain't talking about the Harkles. With his consort. Oh dear, slip of the tongue. His mistress. His ex-mistress. With the Queen, my dear. He rocked up with the Queen, the President of Germany, and his wife, who I do think looked lovely, I've got to tell you. I loved that magenta number, I did. And I do think she upstaged Camilla. We'll on to that in a minute. But Camilla looked absolutely wonderful. She did. She was wearing, of course, the Greville tiara, which is also known as the Boucheron honeycomb tiara, once belonged to the Dowager Queen, Queen Mother of happy memory. And she wore Queen Elizabeth II's diamond necklace. It's called the City of London Fringed Necklace. Now, I do love that affair. Love it. Dripping in diamonds she was. Dripping. And she wore an embroidered gown by Bruce Oldfield, which was inspired by foliage with silver thread work running through it. And she wore the Garter Star, the Grand Cross of the Federal Order of Merit, and the Royal Family Order of Queen Elizabeth II. But the President's wife, Elke, she looked wonderful in that magenta, she really did. And they both were just splendid hosts. I'm sad to say I haven't seen that much of Germany at all. But I have been to Hamburg, and I had a wonderful time there, aside from the fact I got robbed. That was my fault. Well, actually, it wasn't my fault. I got trolleyed, as we say here in the Kingdom. I got absolutely trolleyed at my dear friend who lives in Hamburg, at her birthday party, her celebrations. Got absolutely hammered, absolutely trolleyed, and all kinds of things. But then I didn't want the night to end, so the others went on and on and on to various taverns and caverns, and, you know, it's not my city, I don't know it, and I was spiked. My drink was spiked, and I was robbed of a few £100, and I'm still not quite sure how they managed to do it, but they did. So that was a bit of a downside to my memory of Hamburg, but the rest of the time was fun, mainly because of the people. It wasn't an especially beautiful place. Brothels galore for all you Hamburgers. There's one huge brothel right in the middle, because they're legal, or they were, just a few short years ago. I don't know if they still are now. This wasn't too long ago. It was either called the Pink Palace or the Pussy Palace. I can't remember, my dear, but it was rather vulgar. But there was a lot of that everywhere. The people are lovely. I love German people. They're very open-minded, very welcoming, and very friendly. And they took me through a parade in Hamburg where there are 250 of the most highly paid prostitutes, and I think it's like the only street in Europe where women are forbidden. Any children under 18 and all women are forbidden. And I was looking rather androgynous that night because my eyeliner was out and the heels. And a charming friend of mine, my friend's husband, a couple of his mates said, we've got to take you through. I actually wrote, I'd forgotten what it was called. It's the Herbertstrasse. If you know that street, near the Reeperbahn, the main red light district. Most expensive prostitutes in. And they snuck me in and down the parade to have a look and have a look at all the windows. Have a look at all the prosies hanging out. And I was quite jealous of them, to be honest. They were having a wonderful time in the window. The King and Queen visited, they didn't go to that street, my dear, as far as I know. They didn't go down the Herbertstrasse, but they visited the Kinder Transport Memorial to mark the 85th anniversary of the remarkable UK-led rescue mission of 1938 to save 10,000 children by granting them entry to the kingdom. At the St. Nikolai Memorial Church, they commemorated the Allied air raids on Hamburg in 1943. St. Nikolai was largely destroyed and approximately 34,000 people died in that era. They took a green energy boat tour and learned about the adoption of green technologies, and there was a vast crowd. I loved this poignant photograph with the umbrella. I thought it was a wonderful photograph of Charles, I really did. And they had a fun time meeting with a local rock band who seemed to be quite charmed with the King and Queen. And the German people were impressed that Charles and Camilla arrived in a normal intercity express train and paid for their own ticket. Well, I'm not sure that I approve of that. We don't want to go too far, my dears. They're not peasants, they're not commoners, they're royalty. So, you know, let's stop that kind of nonsense. I digress. And Camilla had a very fun time doing some sketching. She drew the Gruffalo, which is a character she really enjoys herself. And she was in the presence of the Gruffalo's illustrator, Axel Scheffler. Georgia from Germany says, perhaps you would like to know that the state visit of King Charles III is a great success. His speech at the Bundestag, the first ever to address our parliament, was received with standing ovations. Isn't that wonderful? On different occasions, he mingled with long-waiting fans. I was going to say fags. Probably much for muchness. With long-waiting fans. I prefer my version. Security staff nearby were on edge. Obviously, His Majesty has less security concerns than Harry. Well, he's got balls, my dear. He's got balls. He knows that if people want to get at him and kill him, they will. So he accepts it, just as Her Majesty, Her late Majesty, did. And, you know, he's less lily-livered than Harold. Queen Camilla looked gorgeous at the state reception. She did. GDFY90 says, I was there to greet their majesties, but there were so many people that I didn't get the chance to shake hands with them. That's a shame, my dear, but at least you were there, and your presence means a lot. It was wild. The people were mesmerised, and I had only one thing in mind. You, River, as you always say, the royal effect. How funny that you would think of me, my dear. But yes, you saw the royal effect. People see me on this broadcast speaking, sometimes a little melodramatically, my dear, a little theatrically, about the royal effect and what it has on people. And they, you know, some will go, yes, yes, and some will think, by the hairs of my chinny chin, we think the lady boy doth protest too much. It's not quite real. Well, you've said it, my dear. You've seen it. Anybody who's seen it knows it. The royal effect ain't just some fiction. No, it is real. The royal effect, not in their wildest dreams will other people, cough, cough, you say, meaning the Harkles, get to experience this. Wow. No, the Harkles will be able to draw the disturbed, the bereft, the lonely, the grasping, the disenfranchised, the gullible. They will be able to attract the gullible to their brand of celebrity, those who are easily impressed by celebrity. And that is what they will be able to experience, my dear. They will not be able to experience the effect of true royalty. And yes, Harry is royal. He is, and so is children, because that is the bloodline. And his wife could have had that opportunity, had she become the ambassador for the Commonwealth that she could have had the high honour to be, and a princess of this United Kingdom, which, you know, she remains behind the scenes, she remains. But he was never the heir. He was a spare. He was a spare. So he cannot hope to get the same effect as Charles, no matter how he tries to besmirch him. And even Camilla, the most disparaged woman that walks the earth, the most disparaged woman ever. Look what happens, my dear. That is the effect of royalty and decency. When it comes to the coronation, President Biden is not expected to attend, say sources. He won't be joining the dozens of other heads of state. He's keen to send high-profile representatives in his place, possibly the First Lady, who may come. All three presidents of the European Union will attend. Many heads of state will attend, but the British ambassador to the United States, Dame Karen Pierce, and Buckingham Palace aides have had little talks about this with the White House. They've been in conversation, and they've been told that he's got other commitments. Let's bear in mind he did attend the Queen's funeral, which was gracious. Let's also bear in mind that there is no historical precedent for a president to attend a coronation. So I'm not going to hold that against him. There's no historical protocol, and America will be represented in some format. They've been keen to say that it is not some kind of slight, so it shouldn't be taken that way. Who knows, he might send the Harkles on his behalf. Eisenhower did not attend the late Elizabeth's coronation in her day, so those who might want to disparage on this occasion perhaps shouldn't rush to judgment too much. This is his own affair. Some are saying that he's too old. Now, one of my neighbours is in his 90s and he's sprightly and fitter than most 25-year-olds that I know. So I'm the last person to say that he's old, he won't be able to do it. But in President Biden's case, he is rather frail and feeble, isn't he? He looks like he could be blown over in a gust of wind. And apparently the thing is that they like to separate his trips as much as possible due to his frailty, his dislike of travelling. He's also due to fly out to Ireland in April, so he's already got that visit coming along this month. In fact, on April the 11th, he may be meeting the King during part of that trip. And on top of that, he's preparing to stand for a possible re-election. So we've got all that fun of the fair coming up as well, haven't we, lovers? But Eisenhower did not attend. Who he did send in his place was, and I found this rather funny, because he sent George C. Marshall, who was the US Army chief, and on top of that he sent the governor of California. Well, can you imagine Gavin Newsom? I've got to be honest, what I've heard about him, not my cup of tea, because the evidence speaks for itself. California's falling apart at the seams. And the thing is, people keep complaining about this, but they keep voting for Gavin Newsom. Now, on the subject of Camilla's dress at the state banquet, you wanted my verdict. Let's hear some of yours. Karen Cap, I think that says, I have to say I'm not a fan of Camilla's dress, especially compared to her lithe host. She looked frumpy. It looked big and cumbersome. Normally I like her choices, but not this time. MC says, OMG River, how good does our Queen Camilla look at the German state banquet? Stunning. So you're a fan. Susan Harris says, I'm appalled by Camilla's crazy looking dress. I know you think they're style icons, but I absolutely do not. Well, Susan Harris, I think Charles is a style icon. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And that is generally agreed on. That is the consensus in the world of style. It really is. Camilla hasn't reached the dizzy heights of iconography yet. I do think that she is that she gets it right most of the time. I really do. Come on in leaps and bounds, and I think she wears some beautiful outfits. But no, I will agree that she's not an icon yet. She's still got time. She's still got time. But as for this dress, I don't really think that it helps elevate her to style icon. That gown at the Bond premiere was a wonderful moment of hers, where Catherine was in gold. You know, they looked like a real fabulous foursome, didn't they? She was in a sort of shimmering light blue on that occasion, very glamorous. This one, although I do think she looked lovely, she looked really nice, and I thought the gown was quite nice. For my personal taste, black doesn't capture the imagination for that kind of event. You know, the men are in black and dark colours. I can't quite understand the protocol there, why she went for black. I know it had the shimmering bits of embroidery and foliage, which were lovely. I've no doubt it was a piece of good quality. Her face looked beautiful. But yes, next to the bright shining Elka in her magenta, you know, it was graceful for Camilla to give way to the host there in the way that she did. But I understand what you mean about her coming off a bit frumpy. I wouldn't go that far, Karen, to call her frumpy, but I understand what you meant there. What I like about Camilla's style is that it's very royal in that she never looks like she's trying to compete, because she's not. She only wants to give you her best. So I would always much prefer that from any vulgar display that you might get from, well, we know what kind of quarters we're talking about, don't we? So I liked it, but for an occasion this grand, I would have preferred a different colour and not blue. As someone mentioned, we've seen her in a lot of blue lately, which is very good for her, but something a little different. Some sort of mid-colour. I love mid-colours that take people by surprise. Those block colours of primary reds and blues can be wonderful. Metallics can be wonderful, but I love a something in the middle of a spectrum. But I'm certainly not complaining. She did us all proud. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your company. You might have noticed that I'm wearing a bit of a Gwynny number today. I know it's very casual, but it is the only cream cashmere cardigan I have. And because we were speaking about Gwyneth's cream cashmeres recently that read yellow on camera. Actually, I was saying I don't think they looked good on camera, and I'm probably going to find that this doesn't either, which is why I haven't worn it before, because, you know, they crumple all over the place. You know, it's a gorgeous piece, but they can read, I don't know what colour. It's supposed to be cream, but it does have undertones of yellow in, so it'll probably come off the same way, and it's not especially flattering while I'm sitting here, but I wore it because it's topical, so I thought some of you might find that kind of fun. But enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thanks for the catch up and the chuckle. If you had a chuckle, my tip jar is in the description box below, and then I can treat myself to a lovely coffee in the morning on you. Thank you most sincerely. I'll see you soon. Take care. Ta-ra! You hang up! Go on, you hang up! Ta-ra, my dears. Toodaloo.